Do you actually remember the Wild Kratts? If you have never watched it, don't worry, I'm about to break it down for you. And if you did watch it, well, welcome back. Now, Adventures with the Kratts wasn't just some random nature show, it was a whole experience. At first glance, you might think that the show was just another show about animals. I mean, yeah, it's still about animals, but it's different from every other nature cartoon at the time. And listen, I genuinely feel bad for kids today. Because tell me, where are they gonna find a show like this now? Ain't no way Paw Patrol or Peppa Pig is giving them this level of hype. Well, no hate to the shows, I am a big fan of them too, especially Peppa Pig, but today's kids don't even know what they missed out on. Believe it or not, Wild Kratts, or Adventures with the Kratts, if you know it by that name, wasn't their first show. Matter of fact, these dudes had 3 different programs before they even got into animation. Their very first show was Kratt's Creatures, which aired on PBS in the US and Discovery Kids in Latin America. This was their OG wildlife documentary series aimed at older kids. It had that real 90s educational TV vibe, you know, the kind of show teachers would throw on when they didn't feel like teaching. Chris and Martin would travel all over the world, getting up close with real animals while dropping facts about their habitats and behaviors. It was educational, but they kept it entertaining enough so kids wouldn't just zone out. Now, even though Kratt's Creatures was decent, it wasn't exactly a big hit. It was cool, but it didn't blow up like their later projects. However, it did put the Kratt brothers on the map as the go-to guys for fun nature shows, which set them up for their first real success. That's when they completely switched things up, not just for themselves, but for kids' TV as a whole. Instead of just exploring the wild like before, they introduced a mix of real animals, puppetry, and straight-up childhood magic. And so they named this show Zoboomafoo. It involved real animals like a lemur, for example, looking direct at the camera, telling you how to take care of them, and for little kids, that was mind-blowing. The show's whole thing was making kids care about animals by literally having them speak for themselves, with a little puppet magic, of course. And for the time, those puppets looked real. Like, as a kid, you weren't even questioning it, Zobu was just alive. Now, we can go on with Adventures of the Kratts. On the surface, Adventures with the Kratts were pretty simple. Chris and Martin Kratt, along with their team, traveled the world in their giant flying turtle ship, helping animals whenever they ran into trouble. Sometimes the problem was natural, like an animal being lost or in danger. But most of the time, it was because of one of their goofy villains doing something unhinged. Speaking of villains, how about we introduce the most questionable people on the show? Let me start with my most favorite villain, and that was Zach Varmatek. Oh, this man was special. He was basically an evil scientist, but his whole thing was building robots that needed to be controlled by animals. My guy was out here inventing some next-level AI technology, but instead of, I don't know, making useful inventions, he was like, nah, I'ma strap a chimp to this and see what happens. His evil plans never made sense to me, like this guy had robots to help him take a bath, scare children, destroy nature to build parking lots. So apparently his beef with the Kratt brothers ran deep. These dudes had been rivals since childhood because Chris and Martin kept stopping Zach from using animals in his weird experiments. And on top of that, he also had a personal vendetta against Aviva. So Aviva is one of the Wild Kratts team members. She is an engineer, and she invented the Tortuga, creature power suits, and creature pods. More on those later, so yeah, turns out they went to the same science camp, and Zach got humbled every single time because Aviva was just better than him at inventing. Imagine getting outshined by someone so bad you dedicate your whole life to pettiness. That's Zach. Now, Zach wasn't the only villain. There were a few others just as ridiculous, like Gaston Gourmand, a chef whose entire goal in life was to cook rare animals for no reason.
I'm going for the biggest turkey today.
Donita Donata, a fashion designer who wanted to use animals for her couture. Basically, if it had fur, feathers, or scales, she wanted to wear it.
This will be the new fall collection of Donita Donata's living jewels.
Alright, now we can talk about the creature power suits. These suits were the reason why the show was so hyped up. Chris and Martin weren't just learning about animals, they were turning into them. With the help of Aviva's power discs, they could slap on a suit and instantly gain the abilities of whatever creature they scanned. One minute they're normal guys, the next they're running at cheetah speed, flying like a falcon, or burrowing underground like a mole, and this was every kid's dream. Okay, maybe it was more of my dream when I was a kid. Like, you are telling me I could put on a suit and just become a lion? Instantly get super strength? Turn invisible like an octopus? Yeah, sign me up. Anyway, at the end of the day, Wild Kratts wasn't just about animals, it was about adventure, science fiction level technology, and some of the goofiest villains ever put on screen, and that's exactly why it was so legendary. I know you might be wondering if this show was ran by 2 guys, but the thing is, Chris and Martin had a whole squad backing them up. I already introduced you to Aviva, the team engineer who made the Tortuga or the flying sheep, the creature power suits, and the power discs that helped the Kratts transform. The creature power suits had a process that was supposed to be followed so that the Kratts brothers could transform. At first, Aviva had to scan the animal at the base and create a power disc for it. First, they had to physically touch the animal to activate the transformation. Then and only then could they actually use its abilities. Which, now that I think about it, was a pretty good way to stop them from being too overpowered. They couldn't just spam transformations whenever they wanted, they actually had to earn them. It made things more exciting, because sometimes they'd be in a dangerous situation and not have the right disc or the chance to activate it, meaning they had to think fast. Anyway, let's get back to Aviva. This girl acts like she's been through 3 retirements. She was constantly stressed out dealing with the Kratt brothers' nonsense and had a long history of beef with Zach Varmatek because he stayed taking L's from her at science camp. In short, she was too good for the team but stuck around anyway. Then we had Koki, the team's programmer and tech support. If the Kratts needed information on an animal, she had it. If the ship's systems needed fixing, she handled it. If something went wrong during a mission, she was the one telling them how to get out alive. And then there was Jimmy Z. Now, I'm not saying he was useless, but like, if there was one person on the team who was just kind of there, it was him. His main job was flying the Tortuga. That's it. That's the job. He didn't build anything. He didn't hack into anything. He just sat in the ship and pressed buttons. Oh, and he was also constantly snacking, like at all times. This man would be in the middle of a crisis, and instead of helping, he'd be like, dang, that's crazy. Anyway, let me grab a sandwich. He was cool, don't get me wrong, but compared to Aviva and Koki, yeah, he wasn't exactly carrying the team. As you know, with every show, we must do a recap of an episode. And my favorite was Stuck on Sharks. This was the 24th episode of Season 1. Chris and Martin are on a mission to find a great white shark when a remora latches onto Chris's manta rider. A remora is a type of fish that sticks to bigger sea creatures. I'm terrible at explaining stuff, just stick with that explanation for now. So Martin, of course, immediately names it Suckerhead.
Give him Suckerhead! Suckerhead! That's perfect! Yep, that one. Just latched onto the manta using suction.
They quickly realize that riding a manta ray near a shark isn't the safest idea because, sharks eat manta rays. So Aviva builds them the Remora rocket sub, basically, a mini shark-clinging submarine. Meanwhile, Gourmand rolls up on a fishing boat looking for his next delicacy. Once inside the Remora sub, the Kratt brothers head to a shark cleaning station, a spot where tiny fish literally clean a shark's teeth like nature's dentist. There, Suckerhead latches onto a great white shark, which Martin immediately names Razormouth. They ride along with Razormouth, who turns out to be a pregnant shark mama. So things started getting intense. The chill shark ride quickly turns chaotic when 2 orcas, aka killer whales, try to attack Razormouth. Luckily, she escapes, and the Kratt brothers learn that she has baby sharks growing inside her. Meanwhile, Gourmand is scanning the ocean for tuna because he knows sharks love tuna. So if he finds tuna, he finds sharks. Razormouth takes the bait, literally, and gets netted by Gourmand. The Kratt brothers pop back up to the surface and confront him. They tell him she's pregnant and that cutting off her fins would be deadly. But Gourmand, he's completely unbothered and speeds off with his catch. Back at the Tortuga, Aviva is shocked that people actually hunt sharks. Koki drops a mind-blowing fact. Humans kill over 100 million sharks every year, but sharks only kill around 10 humans. And even then, it's usually by accident. Basically, sharks have way more reason to be scared of us than the other way around. Okay, I don't believe that part, but anyway. Aviva whips up 2 new creature power discs, one for Remora power and one for shark power, and sends them to Chris and Martin. Now powered up, the brothers take action. Martin sticks onto Gourmand's boat, trying to slow it down. Gourmand, of course, cranks the engine to full speed to shake him off. Chris pulls off a heroic shark-style leap, unlocks the cage, and frees Razormouth. Martin lets go just in time, and Gourmand ends up tangled in his own net, speeding off aimlessly. With the villain defeated, the brothers return to the shark nursery just in time to witness the birth of Razormouth's shark pups. One thing I loved about the Kratts was that it didn't sugarcoat nature. If an animal had to eat another animal, they showed it. If some lions were out here trying to run down a zebra, best believe they put that chase on screen in full detail. Now, I'm not saying they were out here showing National Geographic levels of brutality. There was no blood or deep battle scars, but they did show real animal fights, hunting scenes, and survival moments. And for a kid's show, that was rare. Now, you might think Wild Kratts is some old show that ended years ago, especially if you're in Latin America where they stopped airing it. Right now, they're in season 7, dropping new episodes on PBS like it's nothing. And not only that, the Kratt brothers are still out here doing live shows. But now, I gotta know, did you grow up watching Wild Kratts, or was it Zoboomafoo that had you hooked? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you want to keep the nostalgia going, check out my last video on Unikitty because that show was straight up chaos in the best way. Click here to watch it now.